All right, and we are here and we are ready to go ahead and get this show started. I am looking forward to this. You are on hell of a show. You're watching as we've got Demon Phil already in the seat here, and I'm about to go ahead and bring up my guest of honor on here for this show. Looking forward to this. This is going to be a fun show. I can already tell we've already had a little bit of a conversation in the green room, and I'm still laughing a little bit from things that were said in there. But let's go ahead and bring him up right now. This is Stjepan Sejic.
Hello, everybody. Stjepan here.
Hey, Stjepan.
Yeah. So I'm a comic artist, writer, creator. I do a lot of I do a whole lot of different creator-owned graphic novels these days. You predominantly are going to know me from stuff like Sunstone, Fine Print, and probably Harleen, but there's also Death Vigil, Achilles Shield Maidens. My genre span from romance to giant robots punching other giant robots and eldritch abominations and monsters. So I kind of sprinkle it in for everybody.
You've done it all. I mean, I've been a fan for some time and watching some of your stuff on there, and then I went and did some research prior to this and looked at your accolades that are on there, and it's like pages of accolades. It's not just a few lines; it's pages of stuff. So, you're a little bored over there, aren't you?
I've been an industry nobody for a long time. So people generally tend to be very surprised when they see just how much stuff I've done over time. It's been a career, but it took a very interesting turn about 10 years ago when I started making Sunstone in a moment of artistic burnout, and here we are.
Yeah, Sunstone has been going. It's been on fire for quite some time now. I mean, it's been. You're up to how many volumes of this now?
I am currently in the process of finishing up and next year publishing volume 8 out of 20. so,
Wow.
so it's got a bit of a journey ahead of itself still.
I didn't even know that you had 20 of them planned out on that thing. I just thought we were going along until somebody said, okay, that's enough. But you've already got enough of a world set up on there that it's going to keep going. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very structured and planned series. People wouldn't guess it at first, that something like a slice of life romance requires that much planning, but it does. Like, you still need very concisely figured out arcs, character progressions. Characters need to have genuine flaws that they need, the time and space to work through. And Sunstone has always been kind of conceived as three main story arcs: Sunstone, Mercy, Jasper, and then the end cap volume, which is basically Ali and Lisa's wedding volume, where it's like this absolutely hilarious series of events that happens through their wedding, and it's kind of it's gonna be a wonderful wrap up to everything. And then, if it's still popular, I got other side stories from that universe to do, really good ones.
And in going along with the fact that you've had a lot that you've worked on and everything, I want to kind of show off a couple of things in my personal collection, because I have Harleen, which I am not a Batman fan. People that know me know this thing, and I still have friends. I don't know how that's possible, but anyway, people kind of let that go, that I'm not a Batman fan. To each their own. But your work that you did in the Harleen series has got my full attention. I've read through that several times. So you did an awesome job, because you took a non-Batman fan and kind of, converted me a little bit on that one.
Yeah, Harleen was a very interesting journey, because Harleen was basically my concept of, okay, I want you to understand the story of a villain without me excusing that villain. I wanted people to understand how a well-educated person, how a person, who seemingly kind of has it together to some degree, falls for the Joker, and how she can just, kind of cast away her life. What leads to it, and what leads to a series of bad decisions, bad choices at crossroads of life, which really, who can't relate to that, Every now and then, you make a choice, you do a thing, and then you're like, later down the line, you're like, why did I do that?
Exactly. And what got me the most out of that story is the fact that you're taking a criminal psychologist and you're delving into her psyche. That is just all kinds of messed up in itself right there. And you're able to do it and get away with it, and it works.
Yeah, it was such a fun experience to write that book. And honestly, I had figured additional arcs to it, because it was supposed to be like 3-book series altogether. But over time, I kind of, my connection to superheroes just kind of faded. Like, the love was gone, and these days I'm just like, you know what? I'll rather draw giant mechas punching each other and people doing BDSM and gods.
There you go. Another one that I've got in my possession here, Death
My
Vigil.
precious.
Oh yes.
The little book that couldn't but still does.
Oh yes.
Death Vigil was a wonderful experience because Death Vigil was one of those things that started. I started doing Sunstone for a while, right, as a webcomic, and Sunstone kind of helped me develop a completely different approach to the art styles. I basically went back to my roots before I got inspired by the greats like Michael Turner, Alex Ross, Mark Silvestri, right, and started doing things in a very more expressive, sort of almost cartoonier style that I had before all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I had this idea, right? It hit me about like Death Knights, right? And I'm like, Death Knights. And then what if Death had an actual order of knights? So I started, fiddling with some concepts and everything and started drawing these characters. Drew Sam for the first time. And as it progressed, right, this lore developed, the story developed about this kind of family of basically Death Knights. It's a family of circumstance, right? And I started making it, and I made the first book, and it was such a weird experience to see a book that was so critically highly acclaimed. Like its reviews were literally toe to toe with Saga at the time, and this was Saga
Yes.
at its peak, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't reach a market because I, as a creator, was a nobody. Like I was a no name. And these days, I'm not a no name, I'm just an unpronounceable name. So that's a whole different problem. But the book died after its first volume because of insufficient sales, right? And then, years later, I started Patreon, and basically it became kind of a way for me to kind of take some stuff from, take the profits and popularity of Sunstone and stuff like the fine print to actually kind of fund the creation of volume 2 of Death Vigil. And I am like eyeballs deep in that. Like I have over 100 pages done already. And
Nice.
yeah, and next year, after Sunstone 8 and Fine Print 2 are delivered to print, I am focusing on Death Vigil 2 and Achilles Shield Maidens 1. And so we're finally going to see the second arc of Death Vigil come to fruition. And this arc is going to hit hard.
Oh, awesome. Oh, you've already got me excited about that one, just talking about that. Excellent. Now, I mean, you've got a lot of work that you've done, and we're going to kind of go through. I'm going to be showing some art as we're kind of discussing and discussing some other things as well, so we can see some pretty stuff up here. Besides, because I'm not that pretty, it just doesn't work.
And I have the lowest brow right now. So. I'm all about that lowbrow humor,
Exactly. But I mean, you've got some amazing.
Yeah,
the
this is the
artwork
cover
that you
for
have
the
has got
second
so much
arc.
range.
Yeah, this is gonna be the second volume of Death Vigil's main cover. So
Yeah.
it's a mood shift.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. I mean, and you're like I said, you've got so much range in what you do in your artwork. It never has the same style to just about anything that you're working on.
Yeah, I was never really the one to hesitate from experimenting and changing my approaches. I've done all kinds of stuff. Like I've done 2D, I've done 3D, I've sculpted. There's a church in Croatia that I painted. Like my artistic ranges were all over the place at this point. And like over time, I've kind of settled on two kind of main styles. One being a more, simplified comic style, but that relies very much on body language and character expressiveness, and the other one being a more kind of rendered realistic, semi-realistic, stylish realism, basically, as I refer to it. It's flawed, it's messy, but it's mine, and for some reason it works.
I mean, it definitely does. I mean, it's like I said, it's something that's so unique and so different that it doesn't follow the cookie cutter style by any means. But each one of whatever you're dealing with, whatever kind of book you're drawing into, it has a different feel to it. It doesn't have the same feel. Like you can't go into a book and go, I know this is your work because it automatically looks like it. I have to read it and go, wait a minute, that's actually, you did this one. Oh, awesome. It just doesn't look the same in each one, which is cool because not that many artists that are out there have that much range in their work that they can do that.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a wild journey over time, because when I started out, I was majorly influenced by creators like I said, by Mike Turner, by Alex Ross and Mark Silvestri. I almost said Alan Silvestri, but that's a composer. Sorry, Mark. So they were my biggest influences, right? And because of that influence, I kind of started shifting away from my inherent style, because style at the end of the day is artistic handwriting. It's mistakes that look good, that we embrace because it's like, oh, this makes the character look cool. So I've abandoned my own shifts from realism and embraced somebody else's for the longest time, which kind of led me down this path of constantly trying to figure myself out, trying to reinvent myself. So it's actually quite interesting for people who own like the old Witchblade issues that I worked on. And you can see this entire journey of a very confused artist trying to find himself, where it's like it starts very kind of lush and painterly, but over time I'm trying to learn more. So I started learning 3D work. So for a while, you see me creating these 3D objects and combining them with painting with more or less success. And then that thing culminates and pretty much peaks in a fantasy series of mine, Ravine, where like for a brief moment of planetary alignment, like the use of my 3D sculpted stuff and my painting just syncs together. But at the end of the day, like it wasn't really something that I ever properly felt, and really I wasn't truly happy until I had my burnout and Sunstone happened, and I went back to my roots because I like things expressive.
Oh yeah, and we will be discussing more about Sunstone here in just a little bit because I'm saving that part of it here just for a little bit into here. But I want to go ahead and delve into the fact that not only is it artwork that you're dealing with, we've kind of touched on the fact that you're writing as well.
Yep.
But there was something that I had gotten from you that was the Queen and the Woodborn.
Yeah.
And it's a very short one, but
it's
it
unfinished.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
well,
unfinished.
I mean, what I saw is absolutely awesome. Just the way that it's written out. It's one of those that it's short enough that it should be enough to make me go, I need more. But yet I'm looking at it going, I need more. I need to know what else is going to happen here. I mean, it gets you locked in that quickly. That was great that you were able to do that.
Yeah, over time, like back from ever since elementary school days and high school days, like I've always loved writing, but I've never truly kind of leaned in on it, because at some point during my high school I kind of lashed on to comics as a storytelling medium of choice. So for the longest time, like I was trying to make my own stories, and I was making them, it's just never finished. And but by the time I kind of got into comics, nobody's gonna let you just jump in on their stuff and go like, yeah, no, sure, newbie, start writing, start drawing, So I got paired with writers, and I was lucky. I got paired with writers that with whom I could actually, I had really good artistic chemistry with, And meanwhile, I was still writing. I was writing my own fantasy magnum opus, Ravine, and but my problem was I'm Croatian. English is my second language, and so I needed kind of somebody of experience to kind of go over that stuff. Thankfully, my friend Ron Mars was very much willing to help me out with that. So I put him as the co-writer in the end on the book, because he literally helped me, immensely. And but over time, as I got more eloquent, as I got better at it, I kind of started doing stuff on my own. There's Sunstone, there's Death Vigil, Achilles Shield Maidens, the Queen and the Woodborn, Fine Print, Harleen, a bunch of other little mini Harley things that I've done over time. It's kind of gotten crazy. Oh, and of course I'm writing a novel on the side of all of that. So
yes. Exactly, because I've seen some of the work on that as well. And again, my jaw kind of drops because I'm like, this is the same guy who is doing graphic novels, comics, covers, artists, and all this kind of stuff, and doing a novel to the point where I'm like, this is really good. I need this book in my hands. I need this, finished up in my hands and ready to actually feel the whole thing.
That one's gonna be insane when done, because I have a plan one day, once we reach a certain point where it's like, okay, now I know like roughly how much I have left to do for this first book. My idea is I'm gonna crowdfund a version of it that's gonna be literally the novel that I always wanted to hold in my hands, where it's gonna be the basic version of the novel is gonna have like 25 high quality illustrations in color in it, right? Like it's like a 600 book, but like there's like 25 additional illustrations in it, right? But then every tier we unlock, more illustrations, five more. Just imagine like that. I'm sorry, like I get really giddy about that stuff because I've always loved those kinds of books. Like I had
Yes.
those Lord of the Rings editions with like illustrations in it. And I was just like, whenever
Yeah.
you go there, it's like a little treat for you. It's like, oh, look at this, I live for that kind of stuff.
Well, that's like, of course, I have one of mine that's like that is curse words. I have that has the entire thing on there, but I also have there's a couple other books that I have up here that
Connection.
are kind of like that, where they added more as we were going along
Hello.
with the crowdfunding. So you start out with a certain amount of pages. By the time they're done, they added in, I mean, almost an additional
Hello.
100 pages on a couple of these things. So be careful what you wish
Which
for,
one
because
of
you might
us?
be a lot more busy than you think.
Yeah, there you go. It's him. Wasn't me.
I mean, it's not like you're bored or anything over there by any means. So just be careful on that. But you've got a lot that you're working on with this, with the the graphic novels, the books, the artwork, everything that's going on there. You're working on your own stuff now, which is awesome, because you're definitely seeing that passion in your work that you're putting out there through the series that you have. I see a lot of your posts that you're doing, and you can definitely see how excited you get about things that are happening out there and things that are going on. One that I want to bring up right now, because it is current right now, and let me go ahead and bring this up so we are up to date on everything. This is the link that you want to go to, and the link is embedded in the feed, but just wait until after the interview is over with, because you're going to want to hear more about this. But this is for this piece on Kickstarter. There's more involved. I mean, there's more things you can choose from as well, but this is the pièce de résistance right there. I mean, this is the good stuff right there. What made you decide to go ahead and start getting into sculpting, and how did you get into this?
So now this statue wasn't really sculpted by me. This one was sculpted by an artist we hired. And I actually just helped around with sculpting of the heads, because we were trying to find a very kind of a happy middle ground where we can make something that can be easily enough painted. Because problem with like these kind of statues, like this is like an 11-inch statue, the heads are basically under an inch high, and then you're like trying to figure out the best approach for that. So for the longest time, I really, really wanted to make collectibles, because my God, my shelves are buckling under these kinds of things. Like I am one of those people who will spend amounts that I would rather not talk about on just stacking nonsense all over my shelves. So I always wanted to have something done of my own characters, and plus over time, like I've been personally working in 3D stuff. Wow, like more than 15 years now. Like just kind of following along with some 3D programs like ZBrush. These days, I actually started taking it very seriously with the advent of 3D printing. So I'm kind of trying to figure that out, how to make even more stuff. Because the problem is, like this statue right here is pricey. Like this is one of those things lessons you learn working on these things. Like you go in all ambitious, then you realize, oh shit, there's a price tag at the end of it. And the problem is, when you're making two characters, yeah, it's an 11-inch statue, but it's a 2-character 11-inch statue with a really, really annoyingly kind of a price tag up thing that happens when you do something as stupid as give character glasses. Yeah, I've learned a lot of stuff working to get this one done. So, there are things that I'm gonna do differently in the future, like maybe make a variant that's maybe glasses free.
There you
Like things you learn. But yeah, now the cool thing about this one is like, yeah, it's an expensive statue. It's like I think $400 almost. It's not because anybody is profiteering off it. In fact, like that statue is actually the least profitable part of the Kickstarter, believe it or not. Like I've actually asked them to drop the price as low as possible, and then I've picked up the pace on the side by adding sketchbooks, Sunstone
Yes.
unpolished, where basically it's a very easy, nice way for fans who can't afford the statue, which again, understandable. They can at least pitch in for the Kickstarter, and they can get something signed by me, which even with the cost of shipping is still gonna be a cheaper version of you getting something personally signed than catching me on a convention, because let's be honest, traveling these days is is a bit pricier than that.
Exactly. I mean, that was another thing that I was going to ask too. Is kind of going into it is, you've done conventions in the past. How is that working out now? Because especially now, it's a lot more expensive. I mean, for anybody to travel, in
Yep.
general. But then again, you're way over there. You're not in an area where it's real simple to just jump over to a convention
So
anytime you want to.
here's the thing though. Like I am blessed with the fact that my books are extremely successful. Nobody
Hmm.
talks about them. There is no mentioning of them in like, on comic book sites talking about the comic news, but I do all right, you know.
Hmm.
So I actually can, quite easily afford to go to conventions. The problem isn't that for me. The problem is the free time, because a
Yes.
convention is a week long, commitment. And every month, I stick to a very strict schedule of producing stuff through my Patreon because as I produce it there, I basically treat my Patreon in the same way that some would treat a monthly comic store, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
here's your monthly content of comics. And once it's done there, that's when it goes to print as a graphic novel, right? And so, you know, doing a convention means either pre-building stuff for Patreon, which is something that I definitely have in mind,
Hmm.
or just pausing a month, and I would rather not do that. So it's always a matter of kind of a long-term preparations for every con that I'm going. For instance, next year I do have planned San Diego Comic Con and New York City Comic Con to visit San Diego, because it fits perfectly also because when I get there, I get to sit down before the con and just sign all the Sunstone sketchbooks and stickers that
Oh
we
yes.
have on the Kickstarter. So, just everything lines up perfectly. So, that one's perfect. And New York City Comic Con, because Linda and I really want to go and see a bunch of Broadway stuff this time. Every time we tell ourselves we're going to do it, but this time we're going to do it.
There you go. I mean, that's the way to do it. And I mean, that's one thing I want to bring up is about your wife as well, because
Hmm.
she does work as well, and awesome work at that, because
Yep.
Bloodstain, I believe, is the name of it that I
Yep.
was reading.
And Ponderworld.
Yeah.
She's also a writer artist, and she, just like me at this point, like, just pretty much excels at in the realm of web comics, of online stuff. And then once, it's the same process that I do, where it's like she makes it online, she makes it to Patreon, and then once a volume is done, sends it to print. And it's been going really well for us.
Nice, nice. Now is Bloodstain, has that gone to print already or no?
Bloodstain has, I think, 4 volumes in print. She's wrapping up the fifth one as we speak. Ponderworld has 1 volume, but Ponderworld has exploded on a level that she was like, I was not ready for this.
That is awesome. So how does that work with both of you that are working on projects all the time and everything? I mean, do y'all still have time to actually, say hello to each other every once in a while in
Well, we
passing, or
li-
is it
we
just
literally we literally sit next to each other constantly jabbering. Like, if like people wouldn't like, there's people who bid on my art streams who know what we are like. Like, we are just two idiots giggling the whole goddamn day. And then we go out for coffee, and then we giggle at the coffee, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, we are an embarrassment, but we love it.
No, but that's great because you're both working on something that you
Yeah,
truly love. Therefore, you're
yeah,
just having fun and enjoying life at the same
yeah,
point of
yeah,
making,
one
making this
100%,
work.
100%. This I'm not gonna lie, it's a blessed existence at this point. Like, because the thing is, like, we don't really work for anybody but ourselves. Like, when we do stuff for others, it's mostly because, like, okay, hey, I like you, I like your stuff. I'm gonna do a thing for you. But at this point, like, we are so outside of everything that we can just relax and just enjoy and do
Right.
stuff for our fans.
Very cool. Now, we've already mentioned kind of about, Sunstone and things like that. So I want to go ahead. We're going to delve into a little more discussion on this and show some more art, but I want to go ahead and put this up. I got this just for the show tonight, by the way.
Oh
So
dear.
it's exclusive for you. But I'm
Oh
putting the
dear.
warning up there that if you're not going to be watching, like some not there's nothing on here that is showing any nudity by any means, but it is definitely a little more suggestive, shall we say. Now, this is one that
This is one of the favorite mock-up covers that I've ever done. Just because I'm like, I'm gonna do something really stupid. Like, I want something that's gonna damage brain cells level of stupid, and I pull it off. I mean, come on.
That is, I love this one. It is, everything on here is so cool. I mean, you read into the details on there, but I mean, just the original picture alone is enough to go ahead and go, all right, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, graphic design. How hard can it be? Now we didn't use this one for the sketchbook just because we wanted to pretend that we're a little bit classy, so we went with Sunstone unpolished. But I still would have preferred this one. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe that'll be a stretch goal once you hit, like 500,000 or something like that.
It's not that kind of a Kickstarter, unfortunately, because we had to segment it. But I would have loved it.
Well, you can always put it in the back, the back pocket and use it later on too.
Wow,
But,
I remember this. Wow, you know at this point that people just pull out my works. I'm like, wait, did I? Was this mine? Did I do this one? This one was for Zenescope, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot the name of the comic.
I don't remember the name of the comic, no, but yes, this is Zenescope is what it was showing up on there.
Yeah.
It's again, it's showing your level of what, kind of stuff you're putting into the work. Now, this is definitely your work.
Angelus, the book in which I have successfully performed a scene where I have drawn a ballerina with 2 left feet. Just so that you ever make the mistake of considering me as a responsible professional. I'm a fucking idiot.
But that's awesome. A ballerina with 2 left feet. That's the ultimate oxymoron right there.
Just couldn't get better. Yes. This is one of the more recent ones. This is for like sort of a future part of Sunstone where Ali goes through a stage where she's like, I could pull off short hair, then immediately regrets it. But we get a very good Gozer from Ghostbusters parody scene from that. So, win.
Nice. But I mean, you have some very detailed things that are in there. There's a lot of attention to the detail that you put in there, and I really appreciate that you do that, because some people will go along, they have a great story, or they have great art, or they have a great name behind them, and they don't put all of them together whenever they're there. They always forget about the one thing, which is the viewer's eyes that are on these things, that they'll pick up a lot of these things, and you pay attention to detail, and it really shows up on there.
Yeah, I always try to deliver great story and great art. Can't do shit about my name, though.
Didn't I do somewhat okay of pronouncing your name whenever I first got you out here?
Remind me again.
Stjepan Sejic?
Oh my God, my heart. I believe the correct pronunciation is Schnitzel Sidekick. That's what we agreed on my art streams over time.
You know what's funny is I'll be in different groups talking to different people, chatting or whatever, and someone will put a thing in there and they'll be like, the guy that does Sunstone, I can't pronounce his name, but he does Sunstone, and everybody knows who it is from just that right there, but nobody wants to write your name down or pronounce it because nobody can.
Yeah, my name is the opening 3 pages of the Necronomicon. Be afraid for pronouncing it. It doesn't always end up well.
Army of Darkness would have been so much easier if they just would have known how to pronounce your name.
Klaatu Barata.
So I mean, how does that, whenever people are trying to, to reach out to find you and everything, how do they go about doing that if they can't actually pronounce the name? I mean, you just kind of hear a murmuring in the distance and hey, that's me.
So here's the kicker. They don't. That's the brilliant part of my name. You're right. They're trying to reach me, and I don't want to be reached. So I have this name.
See, that's how you need to go ahead and start weeding through the people that are coming through your messages and everything. Have them just do a voice message to you and say your name, and if they say it correctly, they get to pass go.
Not gonna lie, there were many sadistic thoughts in my head during previous conventions where I was like, "Hey, free sketch for anybody who can pronounce my name right." Just watch them struggle, watch them sweat. Amazing.
Oh wow. Oh, that is. I mean, it's awesome that you're having a lot of fun with this and all too, because I can only imagine you worked, of course, with Mark Silvestri, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So, and Mark, of course, I haven't had him on as of yet. The invitation is open to get him on here, but he has got a sense of humor that is very similar to like yours as well, where it's to the point where he would do something like that. If you were able to do such and such, then you would get a free sketch from him
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, definitely.
And sometimes it would be a lot more detailed on what he would say he'd have to do. But that's awesome that you're able to work with those guys like that and build up that camaraderie and come up to the level that you are now, and not you're not still using them as a crutch. Not
No,
saying
no. I
that
mean,
rudely by any means.
that's a beautiful thing. Like I've been with Top Cow now for 18 years, and I have no intention of ever leaving until they kick me out.
Right.
Because like we have a good thing going, right? We always kind of have each other's backs. They publish my books whenever they need something from me. I'm like, yeah, there you go. Come on, hit me up. What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's beautiful. It works.
And that's what I mean. Is it's so fluid and just it works for you the way that it is in there. Whereas I just want to make sure that I'm trying to explain it correctly. Not that you're using them as a crutch in a bad way, but the fact
No,
that you're
I
actually
know.
spreading your wings and doing your own thing as well, and they're
Yeah,
not upset about
no,
it.
they were always beyond good to me. Like there's a reason. Like I've had my doors opened everywhere. Like, and I still always prefer being with Top Cow. It's not even a matter of me just kind of sticking with it. It's like I actually prefer being with them. Pretty much, people there are some of my absolute best friends. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think Matt Hawkins and I have spent more time chatting in Discord than I have with, like, you know, 80% of my best friends in life. Like, you know, he's basically literally one of my absolute best friends right now. And, you know, and
That is
plus
awesome.
he writes some really good extended Sunstone universe books, is what I'm saying, you know.
That is absolutely awesome. Now that brings up a question that I've got to ask, and it's kind of a this is going to kind of take you back a little bit. But what is one project that you remember working on that you just you put it down and you were to the point where you were like, this is it. This is my turning point. This is where I actually start moving forward.
So yeah, that would definitely be what's it called? Was it Artifacts, the Tom Judge one? That was when I completely burned out. Like there
Mhm.
was a point where I just, like, I was actually completely ready to shut down comics and just move to video games, because by then I had a bunch of experience working for video game industry as well,
Mhm.
because I kind of like to fiddle with all kinds of stuff, right? And there was this part where it's like I felt my works were completely soulless. They weren't like resonating with me. I hated every step of the way. And instead, I turned to my wife and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a fresh DeviantArt account at the time when DeviantArt was still good. and and I'm going to just kind of draw some stuff that I know, which were kind of like these BDSM jokes, kind of like pervy humor and stuff like that, because I always found sexuality, and especially with BDSM and experiences in life, you know, it's funny. There's
Mhm.
so much potential for just simple
Oh
good
yes.
humor there. And I started drawing these drawings of these characters, but I started drawing them in a way that resonated with my initial style. Like I said before, I got influenced by others,
Mhm.
and I started doing stuff that were expressive, and that's, you know, what kind of set me back. But yeah, before that, there was that breaking point where it's like, I can't. These things look soulless. They look dead, and it just didn't click for me anymore.
No, I mean, and I completely agree with you on that. Sometimes you just reach that point where you start reevaluating and you think
Yeah.
about, okay, over here is the easy way, and I can go over here and really make my mark, or just at least, enjoy my work over here, or over here I can try something different and see if it
Yeah.
sticks. And you tried
And
something different and it
And the,
stuck.
yeah, and the real funny thing was, like, I wasn't even trying to find something that sticks. I just wanted to find something that rekindled my joy of, you know, creating, because it
Hmm.
was gone. Like that whole thing was shut down and just done. Like, and not for anybody else's fault. It's just me on. I kept insisting on going down a dead end street, right? And when
Hmm.
I reached the end, I kept pushing at the wall. You know, it just wasn't clicking. And then I'm like, oh right, I could go back.
Yes. Now, I've definitely got to bring up, because something that really stuck out to me about you and your work and the person that you are is you were actually putting your books out there for free for downloads.
Still
Um,
am.
and still are, yes. And the thing is, most people would hear that or see that and be like, well, they're crazy. I mean, nobody's going to pay for their work, right? Um, I went ahead and I bought Sunstone off of
Yeah,
Amazon because I loved it so much and I had to have it in hand. So I'm just telling you right now, it does
I know.
happen that way.
I know that Sunstone is a worldwide bestseller. It's published in over 50 countries. It's translated to over 30 languages.
Wow.
Here's the real kicker, right? People tend to jealously keep their stories, their ideas, and you can only have them if you buy them. But here's the problem: you're living in a time of hyperinflation of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Like the competition that you're dealing with has you beat from the get-go. And especially if you're a no-name, if you're a nobody, like you don't even have a built-in audience, like your only option is to turn to a more um, risk-reward kind of a thing that is a webcomic format, where it's like, hey, here's my thing for free. Because what you do with that is you put your work out there and you let the audience find it. You let the audience test it, see if it works for them. That's the beauty of this whole system is I never have to force people to buy my work. I don't ever have to force people to support me or trick them. My whole thing is like, here's the whole thing. Read it. If you like it, you can buy
Mm-hmm.
it. It's in print, or you don't have to. You know, Sunstone's power was basically people read it and it resonated with them so much that they couldn't stop talking about it. They were sharing it. You know, I had no intention of ever publishing it. That was the funniest part. They actually pushed me into it. They were like, "Come on, you need to put this into a book." And I'm like, "I have to reformat all of this. Are you people insane?" Because it wasn't made in the format of comic pages. It was made as a kind of a long scrolling kind of an image. Just, you'd have these weird noodles of a fucking format on DeviantArt, and you'd have to scroll down for ages to read the whole episode, and it's just ridiculous.
So they
But
just made you do more work.
yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I think it took me 2 months to just reformat Sunstone Volume 1, just
Ooh.
constantly every day alongside of my work. Like I'd finish work and say, okay, now back to reformatting. It was a nightmare. But it was a worthwhile nightmare.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah, like
absolutely.
that's one of those things. Like I said, you have to put your work out there. If people get attached to it, yeah, that's how you gain an audience. You don't gain an audience by going like, hey, you got to buy it first when they have options. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
the problem. There's so many options, in fact, and established options and options with you know credibility already there. You kind of have to take a different path sometimes, and this
Exactly.
one paid.
Now, if you were given a choice on any of your IPs that someone came up to you and said, "We're going to go ahead and take one of your IPs and go ahead and create either an animated story or a movie, live action, whatever," what IP would you choose?
Oh, Death Vigil. Definitely
Oh,
Death Vigil.
nice.
Yeah, it's structurally the first book of Death Vigil is such a wonderful reading experience. It's very concise. It gets from point A to point B, tells you the concise story while leaving it open for the for different arcs. Like I would love to say Sunstone, but Sunstone literally screams. And this is me speaking from experience. I've had pitches for Sunstone, and every pitch is like, here's how we think it should work, and how it's gonna be like nothing like what you made it. I'm like, yeah, here's how I think. I'm not interested.
Right.
So, but Death Vigil is kind of like very tailor made for like an animation. Like Death Vigil, for instance, like my wet dream of a concept is basically Death Vigil made by the people who made the Castlevania anime for Netflix.
Ooh, nice.
Like, oh god, like that would
Ooh,
just what's her name, Carmilla from that anime, like she's literally
yes.
a more serious Bernie. I'm like, yep, there we go, just perfect.
Or even the group that did. I could definitely see it in the same style of Tresse.
Yeah, but that's more anime approach. Like I think that visual, like the people who did Castlevania would do a bit, like, because that visual really kind of relies heavily on a more like it's very stylistically grounded for itself as well.
Right.
And I think their style has is kind of has a proven track record of kind of where it's like, yeah, I see this and I'm like, yeah, these people could pull off the approach that I have on that visual. So like that's kind of my wild dream. That or just Guillermo del Toro going again and going like, I can do this.
And the one that I was thinking about, actually, I wasn't even thinking about Death Vigil being
Yeah.
being dropped in the bucket on that one, but Fine Print has actually got my attention on there, and I think that would be an awesome one as well if it
Yeah.
were optioned.
Fine Print is gonna be probably the most insane story I've ever made. But
Really?
also it's kind of one of those things. Fine print, like Sunstone, deals with themes of sexuality, relationships, love, and desire. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's easy to fuck it up by having either an overly prudish studio just kind of cut things left and right, or having somebody who will be like, this has tentacles, we see what you're doing. I'm like, you really don't. But all right. It's
sometimes
nice that you notice.
Are just tentacles.
Listen, I keep saying my brand is literally taking things that would be so misunderstood and just going like, okay, but what if I took something that you thought would be either porn or just mindless action, and I just give it endless layers of depth. That's literally how I approach all this stuff. I'm like, tentacle porn, but smart.
That needs to be one of your new hashtags right there. Tentacle porn, but smart. I mean, it'd be easier to pronounce that than your name.
In some circles, I've heard it pronounced like that. So,
I mean, that is, you've got a lot of work and a lot of awesome stuff that you're working on with all this, and you're definitely staying busy with things. Are you taking on any other new projects, or are you pretty much full up and done right now?
I am full up, but there are certain things that I've already previously accepted. So I'm going to be doing a short story for Mirka Andolfo for her Paprika comic, which is probably one of the favorite things I've read in a long time.
Nice.
I love her work because she also mixes that kind of sexy with hilarious, and it's just,
yes,
I don't know, it always clicks for me. So there's that. I've kind of now distanced myself from work for hire entirely, and I've just kind of cut ties with superheroes in general. So these days I prefer just doing my own thing, Lord knows I have plenty of it on my plate.
And it sounds like, I mean, you do definitely, and it's cool to be able to sit back and actually pick and choose what you want to do because you love it. It's not something that, okay, well, I got to have the paycheck and I got to keep the lights on.
There is nothing that I do that's driven by just, the necessity of a paycheck. Like everything I do is literally, oh, I want to do this now. Oh, and now I'm in the mood for that. It's just.
Now, of course, right now, the main thing going right now, again, is the campaign that you've got going, which, if I'm not mistaken, as of the time of recording this, has 6 more days left. You were at almost like 1,200 backers on this thing so far, is what I saw on there. It is up there.
That thing is gonna be fun, and hopeful. Actually, no, the word isn't hopeful. The word is thankfully. It's gonna be done on time because, like I said, there's a beautiful lineup where I get to go to San Diego Comic Con before the con, sign everything in time, and it's gonna be beautiful. So yeah, also for everybody, if you ever needed something signed by me and it's like, you can't get to a con, this is your chance. Like, we have sketchbooks and cards that come signed, and we made the campaign segmented for that very reason. So it's not one of those cumulative, you do this much and this unlock stuff, but instead it's kind of like a few separate products so that you can, hey, you can't afford that, there you go. So you get a 20-page sketchbook with some, that's signed with a bunch of fun stuff within, and it's a nice thing.
That is awesome. Well, I could keep you on here all night long talking about all this and everything, but I'm going to go ahead because I know you've got a lot of work that you got to do because, we've talked about how bored you are for the next year or, 10, 20 years, however long it is you got to work.
yeah, it's going to be a journey.
But I'm going to go ahead and give you the time right now to go ahead and let everybody know why they need to get over there to the Kickstarter and find out what's going on over there. So go ahead and let them know what's going on and why they need to go ahead and support in any way they can.
I mean, listen, if you have the finances to buy the statue, it's going to be really cool. 2-character statue. We have successfully accomplished Ali having transparent glasses on a 11-inch statue. Come on, that's that's an accomplishment, damn it. And like I said, beyond that, you can get yourself some nice stuff that's signed by me. So if you ever wanted to have anything signed by me, like I said, air tickets are expensive. I think this is gonna cost you less. That's my opinion. But beyond that, thank you for at least checking it out.
Yeah, it's an awesome campaign that you got going there. Like you said, you've got different variations of different things you can choose on there, anywhere from starting from stickers all the way up to the actual statue there. So you've got all kinds of options.
Yep. It's a it's a product of a very long journey to get this thing produced, and I'm just so very happy we finally did it.
That is great. Well, I certainly appreciate you taking the time and being able to come up here and spend the time with me and get to know you a little bit better and with your work and your accomplishments throughout the years and all. In closing, I want to ask you one last question is, you've done this for quite some time and everything. What's the best advice you could possibly give to someone who is coming into the industry new right now?
If you're coming into the industry, don't start with the industry. Not even kidding. If you can, find an online outlet. Find yourself some place where you can make some web comics or something like that. Get yourself seen. Get yourself recognized. Get yourself noticed. Get your work noticed. Because the problem is, you're going into a very saturated industry with like you're gonna go in there with ideas of this is how it's supposed to be, but it's really not. Like it's gonna be different from what you expect. And if you establish yourself beforehand, and if you establish yourself on the side of things, you always kind of have that safety kind of a mat for yourself when things don't necessarily work out the way you did. And another thing, there's two big advices that I have. If you're getting into comics, if you're gonna make your own stuff, if you're gonna work in comics, learn to take criticism. And the best way to do that is this has worked for me wonderfully over time. Find something that everybody seems to like, but you don't. And remind yourself that, when somebody says they don't like your stuff, that's fine. You don't like this one big thing, And there was another thing, but now I forgot because I don't have enough coffee in myself.
Understandable. I mean, there's not enough coffee to go ahead and keep that brain working on everything at one time, because I'm sure you're already starting to travel over to your other projects that you're working on.
I am eyeballing my tablet as we're speaking right now. I'm just like, hey there, precious. You and I, we're going to do some naughty things right now.
Oh, man, that is awesome. Well, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to be on here, and hopefully I'll be able to get you back on again at sometime in the near future.
Sure,
whenever you got some more time.
Now that my circumstances are slightly different, now I can actually afford the time to sit down and chat with people sometimes. It's lovely.
Exactly. Well, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time, letting us, get to know you a little bit better and get to know your products and your projects and your work that you do, and more importantly, the passion that you put into everything, because that's the biggest part of the indies is how much passion you put into it, and you put a ton into it.
Yeah, it really is. Like you get what you give on a good day. Not always though. So it's that's the other thing. Be prepared to fail. All of the greatest, most long-lasting success is built on a strong foundation built of nothing but failure. Trust me. I have failed many times until I started succeeding. So just don't get discouraged by failure. That's the part of the process. There's that second advice. I knew I had.
There you go. See, no problem. We had plenty of time to get that in there. Well, again, I appreciate it very much, and looking forward to having you back on in the near future as well. I'm going to go ahead and put you backstage right now. If you want to hang out, we can chat when we're done with my closing. But again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So we had Stjepan on here. Let me go ahead and pronounce it correctly. It's Klaatu Verate. Had him on here, and we were able to discuss and have a good time getting to know him and getting to know what all he does, which is awesome, because this is what I've talked about in every one of my shows that I've had on here, is always talking about the passion that you put into the indies is what, shows more of what you do and who you are than anything else. And he is definitely no different than that. He definitely shows a ton of passion in everything he does. And right now it is awesome to be able to talk to him that he's actually doing something he absolutely loves and keeps wanting to do that one thing on there because it makes him happy to do so, and because it makes his fans happy. And that's why he chooses to, what he wants to work on at this point. That right there speaks volumes. So if you love what you do and you're doing it for the right reasons, you never know. Your time could come up too. So keep that in mind whenever you start thinking about, what's going on with your projects and what you're working on. Just keep that in the back pocket and always think about that whenever you're doing something to kind of, wrap your head around every once in a while. But we had a great show on here. I am honored to be able to have him on here to be able to discuss some of his work. He has done work on here that is it's just gone over time. and is hung around and just gets better and better as we go along. So keep in mind, we've got other great shows planned out as well. This is not the epitome. I'm not, stopping at this point, even though this is one of my grail moments right here. And I try to keep the fangirling down to a minimal. I did okay, I think. But we're definitely looking forward to having more shows in the future. So if you like what you've seen, please remember to go ahead and like, subscribe, and share today. Don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you do not forget to, any of the content that's coming out. A ton of content coming out, and next year is so much more on the change of things that are coming out, and the scope of different guests that we're going to have on. So again, thank you for being here. Certainly appreciate it. And always going to finish it off with the last statement that I always have, which I love doing this. Keep it indie, y'all.